Can I just say that the first episode of Mashin Sentai Kirameiger was actually really good. Like, no lie. Like, if you guys have not seen this first episode of Mashin Sentai Kirameiger, by far, like, out of all of the premiere episodes of Sentai that I've seen, I would say this was even better than Ryu Soldier. Like, the way they took their time with this episode was fantastic. And so today, since this is on a different day, I decided that I would take the time and review this episode 0 of Mashin Sentai Kirameiger, so that way you guys can know what exactly happened in this episode and what are my overall thoughts. Let's get into it. If this is your first time here, I make Power Ranger and Super Sentai related videos, and so if you're into Power Rangers or Super Sentai, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, that way you don't miss a single video. With that being said, let's get into the review of Mashin Sentai Kirameiger episode 1. Now, we start off the episode with us starting in Crystalia, where it's a kingdom where it has a lot of shiny stuff in it. However, there is another kingdom that is trying to take it over, and we will get into that. And basically, the main thing here is that one of the helpers that we see for Mashin Sentai Kirameiger comes from Crystalia, that there is a reason that the evil people are coming after all the gems, and they're coming to take over Crystalia. And the emotion that showed was with the princess, and the sadness and the shock and disbelief of her kingdom being attacked is so interesting. Like, we usually don't get this kind of emotion a lot of times in a premiere episode, but my goodness, the emotion in this first couple of scenes where we see Crystalia being attacked, it is so freaking good. And like we talk about it a lot in Power Rangers, like we wish there would be a lot more emotion in it, and we see glimpses of it in Beast Morphers. But this first episode, man, it was getting all the emotions, like, dang, it was connecting good. And then we see the king fighting off the evil guys, and then he is attacked by a guy named Garza, who was a person in Crystalia that now has turned evil to go and side with the bad guys. And then the princess says, well, what if I go run off to Earth? And along with her running off, she takes her 5 crystals along with her going to Earth. And so then we see the opening for Mashin Sentai Kirameiger episode 0. Now, I know I called it episode 1, but technically this is episode 0. And even though this is the first episode, I'm just going to refer to this one as the episode 1, and then the next one maybe episode 1, so I'm not too sure what I'll call it by then. So then we get our first glimpse at the Red Ranger, who is a schoolboy. We see him drawing this little thing, really preoccupied in drawing stuff, and we can see he's going to be an interesting character as a Red Ranger for sure. And then we see the schoolgirls teasing him, and he's not paying attention to it. No, he is not. So then we see a couple of guys walking into a forest, and then we see the princess and the 5 crystals being encased from when they came from Crystalia. And then when she wakes up, she meets a guy called Hakata Minami. I'm just going to call him Hakata for today's review. I know that's kind of disrespectful, but it makes it a little bit easier if I just call him Hakata, so we're just going with that. And so basically Hakata basically knows the king of Crystalia, basically the princess's dad, and so that's how he knew about the attack, and that's why he was saying that they need to go find 5 warriors who can go take out the evil forces. And so with that, we see that Hakata has also shown the princess 5 morphers, which is how the Mashin Sentai Kirameigers are going to be morphing up. And then the most shocking thing that I saw out of this was that the gems could actually talk. Like, I was just gonna say, okay, maybe the princess is gonna find these people. She's gonna go find the green, yellow, blue, pink, and red rangers by herself, and then she gives the gems to them. But instead, it's the gems that have their individual personalities, and these gems basically go around with the princess, and these gems are hand-picking their warriors, and I really like that. Like, usually we see 5 people being chosen at random. They all have their little stories and whatnot, but I do like the fact that we get to see the actual powers themselves going and choosing whoever they want to be the representative of that gem, and I like that so much. Like, the whole thing about emotion here, and the whole point of being different, is that this episode is showing me that this is going to be kind of a different Sentai than what we've seen before. Like, we've had cars, we have dinosaurs, we've had animals, but we really haven't had a season just solely based on gems, except I guess you can count Lupin versus Pato Ranger. But really, that was more about one team trying to steal gems and more in the other going to get those gems and arresting those guys. Whereas here we're getting a focus on the jewels themselves and really more of a heavy focus on these gems having a personality and these two planets coming together to fight off evil. And I do like what they did here. So then we see the first glimpse of the Green Ranger, who is faster than everybody at her high school, and she's basically the track star. And so the green gem says, I really like this one, I'm going to go with this one. And so then we see the Blue Ranger, who looks like, at first I thought he was going to be a samurai. Turns out he's just going to be an actor. And we see that he is going to be the kind of guy who thinks he's a samurai all the time, which I do like. And then the Blue Gem says, oh yeah, he's good, let's get him. So then we go and we see the Yellow Ranger, who is a gamer, and we see that the Yellow Gem is like, wow, I really like that he is a good marksman, even though the princess says, but he's just a gamer. You realize he's not just a marksman. He's like, oh yeah, I don't care. So then the Yellow Gem goes and takes him as the Yellow Ranger. And then we see the Pink Ranger, who is a medic, and then we see the Pink Gem say, oh my god, she's so cute. And so then we see that the Pink Gem chooses the Pink Ranger as well, the Pink Ranger. So then we go back to base and we see the 4 Rangers that have been chosen going back to base, while the Red Gem is still trying to find the Red Ranger, even though this is kind of like that dramatic irony where we see the audience knows what's going to happen. Like, we know who's going to be the Red Ranger, but in the show, the Red Gem doesn't know who the Red Ranger is, and so we're going to probably see the Red Ranger in the next episode. So then we see an attack in this little garage or something like that, and the 4 Rangers are battling off these minions. So then we see the Yellow Ranger. Surprisingly, I thought it was going to be like the Blue Ranger coming and saying, hey guys, we need to morph up. No, it's the Yellow Ranger that says, you know what? We need to band together and we need to fight off these bad guys. And even the princess at first was like, oh my god, this is bad. And then we see the Rangers coming together, being strong and taking out the minions. Like, this is what I like about Ryu Soldiers, that the emotion that's being showed here. This is so good just for the first episode. Like, I really wish they keep this going for the other episodes. Like, if they do what they did this first episode, it's fine. Just keep it like it, okay? And so then we see the Sentai Kirameigers morph up. Can I just say this? I have said this and I have said it again. These suits look fantastic. Like, the way they did this with the sashes and the little jewels and the little, gem kind of things in their helmets, it is incredible. The design they did with these suits is crazy good. And I just like what they did with it, honestly. And then we see how the Blue Ranger and the Green Ranger is going to be using the swords more often. And then we see the Yellow Ranger and the Pink Ranger using the guns, which are like shooting disc and whatnot. So I do like the fact that the way they did these swords and the guns, I like the design to these, honestly. And I did predict that we were going to have the guns shoot disc and whatnot. They actually did that in the show, which I was like, oh, so they're going to shoot disc in the show as well. That's actually really cool. So then they go and take out the minions. Come to find out that Hakata had set this up as a simulation to see if the Rangers would band together, as they can team up together and they can become a family later on. So then we get our final shot at Garza, who, like I said, is the leader of the evil ones. And basically, he is saying he is now going to go and beat up Earth and go take down Earth while the Kirameigers go fight it out. Then we see this little tentacle guy coming in and trying to destroy this part of the city, where we see the Kirameigers say, not today, we ain't letting that happen. And that's the end of the episode. So I know I said this in the beginning. I'm going to say it again. I liked this episode. This episode was crazy good. Like, I was not expecting this episode to be this good. Like, if you are a Power Ranger fan and you're saying, well, I want to watch a season that's different, but the emotion is there. Like, the storyline, they took their time with it, honestly. And I like what other YouTubers have said so far. what they did with this episode is they really took their time to get into the story. Kind of like how the first episode of Power Rangers Beast Morphers was, where we basically got the introduction of the Rangers and how they got there. Here we get something different. Here we see the Gems, who is basically the power, basically choosing the Rangers themselves instead of, oh, here are random individuals who have their different storylines and then coming together. We're seeing the powers who know each other. The Gems are a family, and they're bringing in these people that they individually like. And I like that that is so different, and it's so cool and awesome to see that kind of storytelling just in the first episode. And I know we're probably going to get the mechas later on, but honestly, like, the way they did this episode was crazy good. In fact, I just loved what they did with this, honestly. Like, if I could grade this, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. It did everything for me. It got the emotion there. We didn't get the mechas, but obviously that's not important here. And then we got the 5 eventual Rangers, even though we got 4 of them. One we know is going to be getting in there later. I just like everything about this episode. This episode kept me going. I was not bored at all. Even if you are not a Power Ranger fan, even if you're not a Sentai fan, if you have not seen this first episode of Kirameiger, I highly suggest you go check this out. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's review. If you want to see more reviews from me, I also have a playlist, like I said, up here and also down here where you can check out my most recent videos. Thank you guys for watching today's video. And until next time, I'm Andrew Michael. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.